Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be talking about the new moon in Scorpio that is happening November 4th. Okay, I believe, let me just double check when that is. November 4th, the time is 2:15 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. So I'm so excited to talk about this video because we're essentially entering into Scorpio season. And because we are in Scorpio season, I have been feeling the shift, my clients have been feeling the shift, and even my parents have been feeling the shift in energy. And what does that actually mean, right? So Scorpio is really the sign out of the 12 zodiac signs that, in my opinion, have a darker, mysterious aspect to it. My dad's actually a Scorpio, so my entire life I was very afraid of him. There is this mysteriousness to him that I really couldn't pinpoint. And I would say that Scorpio is really the sign of transformation. And so today's video, I'm going to be actually talking about 3 things that I really want you to look at this Scorpio season, entering into the new moon as well. Start this now, right? Meaning that leading up to the new moon, you're going to be feeling these feelings. You're going to be noticing these things that may be happening for you. And I really want you to see what you can do to transmute whatever it is that is resurfacing, whatever it is coming up for you, because I definitely feel that now is the time to kind of go inward even deeper. So you're thinking that, okay, I've done all this inner work, I've done all this shadow work, but let me tell you that Scorpio season is one of those seasons where it's at another level. Like, you're actually going way deep into the depths of who you are. And I know it may sound kind of scary, especially for those of you that have never done shadow work or have never confronted the shadow side of you. This is going to be a season where you're going to be confronted with a lot of that. Now, very briefly, I want to talk about this darkness that a lot of people seemingly see as bad. So recently, I would say this past year, I've really been exposed a lot to the dark side. And what I mean by that is that all of my life, I've always been afraid of the dark. Literally, I've been afraid of the dark, meaning that I hated anything that was dark. I hated being in the dark. And what I realized is that I was taught as a young child to always be a good girl, right? And because of that, I've always leaned into the light, and darkness really scared me. And what ends up happening is that when you avoid darkness, when you choose not to look at it, it actually is still there, right? Just because you avoid something doesn't mean that it magically just goes away. And so the reason why I bring this up is that really Scorpio season is a time for you to actually look at the darkness that's within you, right? We're all made up of dark and light, and to really look at it, see how, give it attention. I think that sometimes we forget that the darkness also makes up who we are, and instead of being ashamed of it, instead of trying to push it away, it's a time for us to actually look at it very closely and see what kind of patterns we are creating because of ignoring a lot of the things that we choose to ignore. Okay, so essentially, Scorpio season, which is right now, is really a magical time that really brings the opportunity to face our deepest shadows, like I said, and not only face them, but to actually accept them and grow with them instead of trying to run away. So I'm just so excited because this is really a time for all of us to go inward, look at things that trigger us. And actually that leads into my next point. So there are 3 action steps that I really want you to take away from this Scorpio season, okay? The first one is triggers, right? So I'm sure you have heard of the term triggered, but I think what I really like this definition from Jen Peters is the difference between an emotional trigger and your intuition. So sometimes, you hear that a lot, like, hey, I'm trying to follow my intuition. But your intuition and your emotional trigger is very different. A trigger, your emotional trigger, is actually really fast. So it's a reaction that you react from an event. And I'll give you an example in just a bit. But rather, an intuition is more of a soulful guidance. And it's something that you just know deep within. And you know this from a calm state, right? You're not like freaking out and knowing this, because normally when you are freaking out, you have all these intense emotions, then most likely it's actually a trigger and not really a soulful guidance. So let me actually share with you a story that happened recently to actually my parents. So to make a long story short, my parents and their neighbor got into like a physical alteration because a kid called my neighbor a word that he was not okay with. So essentially, if you think about it on a logical sense, if you're an adult, if someone calls you a name, if you react so strongly to it, most likely it's because it's hitting a wound, right? If it actually did not, like if you didn't care about it, or if it wasn't actually true, would you actually have such a strong emotion? So I really want you to think about like the past week or the past day, what triggers have come up for you that where you have a very strong reaction. And most likely when you have such a strong trigger, it's because it's wiping across a wound that's already open. So Don Miguel Ruiz talks about this in his book, The Four Agreements, where we all have wounds since childhood. And these wounds are really a way for us to look at and for us to teach us a very important lesson, right? So nobody actually ever hurts you. It's a very small percentage. Actually, I would say that whenever someone tries to hurt you, what they're actually doing is that they're projecting what's hurting themselves, right? So if you actually get triggered by when someone calls you a name or when someone does something to you, it has nothing to do with that other person, but whatever that person is doing is actually rubbing against the wound that's already open and it's hurting, right? So rather than looking at the person as the person that's rubbing against your wound, what you want to actually look at is the actual wound itself. So that brings me to the first lesson, which is that during this time, it's really important to look at the triggers that happen. And instead of looking at the person that's quote unquote harming you, to look at the wound that it's actually rubbing against and to ask yourself, okay, why is this happening, right? What is this trying to teach me? Second thing, that may come up a lot during this time is actually dreams. A lot of dreams, a lot of visions. So I don't know about you, but I dream a lot. Normally when I have the same dream over and over and again, it's a sign for me to actually look at it closely. So a couple months ago, I actually started having the same dream of me being chased by a child. And at the end of the dream, I'm actually stabbed to death by this child. I know it's very gory in my dream. It's actually very gory, but I really have to talk about this because one of my fears, aside from darkness, which is pretty dark, right? This dream is actually becoming a mother. And it's not even just becoming a mother, it's what it means to become a mother and losing my freedom or losing quote unquote my career quote. These are limiting beliefs that I picked up as a child, seeing my mom sacrifice her career that I've adopted subconsciously. And so again, these dreams are trying to tell me something, right? It's trying to tell me that, hey, like, this is something you should probably look at. This instead of trying to run away from it, to actually dive deep and understand why this is triggering me, right? This is showing up in my dreams repeatedly. So during this time, make sure you have a dream journal, right? I don't know if you guys have a dream journal, but I like to keep a dream journal sometimes next to my bed. At the moment I wake up, I write down whatever it is that comes up for me. Third thing that may come up a lot during this time is actually judgments. So I like to put this picture up because this picture looks like there's a group of people gossiping about this one person, right? So in our daily lives, we tend to actually judge people a lot. You may be that one person like, I don't judge people. And I used to be the same way where I'm like, I don't judge people. I try not to judge people because I don't like to be judged, right? But the truth is that judgments exist and you're probably judging me right now. And the point I want to raise is that the judgments that you have on other people, whenever you're criticizing someone, whenever you're judging someone, really what you're trying to do is that you're judging yourself, but it's easier to point the finger on someone else. It's always easier to point it on someone else. So what I'm trying to say is that during this time, watch yourself. Whenever you find yourself judging someone else, pointing the finger at someone else, you know that saying when you point and then there's like 3 other fingers pointing back at you, be very wary of it during this time. Be extra careful and kind of understand like, what is happening? Why am I judging this person? Is it really like I'm judging them, or is it that I'm actually judging myself, right? Like, how am I judging myself in this situation? So those are the 3 things I really want you to be aware of during this Scorpio season. It's going to be a very deep season. It's a very transformational season. When you utilize this time in your own way, you're going to find a self-transformation that you probably would not look at if you don't intentionally take the time to do so. And then lastly, I want to give you guys a crystal to work with because I love working with crystals. And actually the crystal that I want to really encourage you guys to work with during the Scorpio season is actually moldavite. So if you are new to me or if you know anything about me, I love moldavite. I've created my share of moldavite videos, so you can check it up here. I have a whole playlist. But moldavite is really the stone of transformation. And I actually don't work with it every day. I choose when I want to work with it. And definitely during the Scorpio season, I am going to be working with moldavite because just to put briefly, you can watch my other videos. Moldavite is really such a stone that allows you to go way deep and to uncover the things that you may be trying to hide from, trying to go away from. And so it's a new moon, right? Meaning that it's time to set new intentions for this next moon cycle. So before you can set intentions to go forward, it's really important to see what is it that's actually stopping you from getting there. So essentially, again, if you want to watch my previous videos on moldavite, I really encourage you to really tap into the energy of what this stone brings you and follow the exercises that I gave you for this moon cycle, right? Look at the triggers that happen, the dreams that you have, as well as judgments that you have on other people, and really write them down. Take some time to actually sit with the information that I just gave you and see what you can do during this season, okay? So I hope this was helpful for you. Let me know in the comments what came up for you during Scorpio season, right? Let me know because I love to hear your stories and I love to hear what is, coming up for you during this time, as well as any questions that you may have. So I hope this video was helpful. Make sure you subscribe and give this video a big thumbs up, and I will see you next time.